Hey, thanks for watching today. This video is going to cover 16 tax investing states, and we're going to cover from liens to deeds, auctions, over-the-counters, foreclosures, land banks, and really just what you need to know for this week coming up in these different markets and how to do some of that research. And of course, we use Parcel Fair for this because this is the Parcel Fair channel. So let's jump in. If you want to skip between states, take a look at the channels at the bottom of the screen in YouTube. You should be able to jump to whatever states you would like to focus on. Okay, let's start with our market totals for the last couple weeks. We've added 28,052 properties being tracked by Parcel Fair. That breaks down into 24,950 of those are tax liens, 2,220 of those new properties are tax deeds, 859 of them are foreclosures, and 23 coming from land banks. If we break it down by state, and let's talk about the OTCs. These are over-the-counter properties by state that we just added. It was kind of a quiet week or two in over-the-counter additions. Maryland had the most with just 31, and then Arkansas with 18. Mississippi, Tennessee, Florida, Alabama all had less than 10, so just a total of 70. That's pretty rare, but I guess those are all sort of, a lot of markets are not adding over the counter right at this moment. This gets heavier later. As far as tax auctions go, this is where most of the action was. You see 27,000 properties added in the auctions. The largest chunk were the Arizona auctions that came online a couple weeks ago at 23,749, followed by Tennessee. We're going to talk about that first when we get to our states, because it's rare to see Tennessee pop up with a few auctions out of the blue like this. It was kind of nice to see their season warming up here. Indiana is just a steady burn, adding tax auctions. They had 718 properties added. We're getting close to having all of the spring commissioner sales added. We are waiting on a few more to get released. New Jersey is the season that never ends, apparently. We keep on thinking it's going to end, but there were 635 tax lien auction properties added. Florida, the 595 properties there are going to be tax deed. Their tax lien auction season has not started yet for the year. Maryland had a new auction and 283 properties. Ohio, which we did a video on last week, you're going to see a lot more properties added in the coming weeks, but we just added another 250, followed by 16 properties in North Carolina. And if we break down the foreclosure properties that we added, Florida had 480, Colorado 303, Indiana 76. Just so you know, there are a lot of these tax deed states. They might call them tax deed foreclosures. We track those in this middle section here with tax auctions. These foreclosures on the right-hand side are actually regular foreclosures, usually from a mortgage or some type of loan or lender. So that's why we don't track those under the tax auctions. They're really foreclosure auctions for another reason. And when we're talking about auctions, we did that auction planning video a few weeks ago. It seemed to be pretty popular. And we're going to keep on that general front. I guess you'll see in a moment. We have a calendar we're showing you. But the auctions are being changed and added daily. And right now we're tracking 988 upcoming auctions over the next few months. And I can tell you in the next week or two, we will be tracking more than 1,000, and it's just going to keep growing. That's not even including the auctions that have already happened in 2024. So on the year, we're well over 1,000 auctions that we've started tracking or tracked fully. So the volume this year of auctions, you should be happy with that. We're tracking many, many auctions for you. And as I mentioned a second ago, the auction planning video covered this calendar where we look at seasons. And right now, Arizona is kind of the one that leads off. We get those properties first in the year for the lien auctions. There's a few deed auctions too. But really, February, March, we're in that lien auction season. Indiana, their spring commissioner sales start early. A lot of them happen later, but right now we've already had some action on those auctions here. And you'll see this week we also have our first Maryland auction came into play for the year, in addition to the OTCs we track there. You'll notice, that's really the seasonal part. The top half of the calendar covers the seasonal auctions through here. But you're going to see, Indiana has this foreclosure auction band that goes all across the year. Florida has deeds and foreclosures throughout the year. And then at the bottom of the screen, from Colorado, New Jersey, North Carolina, Tennessee, Ohio, those are year-round as well. So you see a nice thick band at the bottom of auctions they're not really seasonal. You might have certain times of year, like in New Jersey, towards the wintertime, when there are a lot more auctions than maybe in the summer. But truth be told, these seasons are year-round on some of these states, and so you don't have to wait like 6 or 9 months for the next auction season. You can just look at whatever's available right now. So we're going to move on to our first state. I chose Tennessee this week, not because it has the most auctions, but because we don't talk about Tennessee enough, and it was kind of a good week to spotlight it because a few auctions popped up. Another reason is we had a misprint in our videos recently. I'd mentioned there was a 12% interest penalty, which is actually pointed out to me in the state statute by one of our research friends that it is a 10% interest penalty. And I went back and looked through our notes, and we actually had it both ways, 10 in one place and 12 in another. So that was our fault. It is a 10% interest, and it is penalty based, which means if you buy at an auction in Tennessee and someone redeems almost immediately, you get 10%. If they redeem on the back end of that first year of redemption, like day number 360 or something like that, you still get 10% interest. It's penalty based. It's not prorated. So here are the upcoming auctions. We just had McNary at the beginning of the month here, but we have Madison coming up in February, and then March has 4 auctions that we know of, Shelby, Washington, Hardeman, and Carter, followed by Knox County, which will be formally announced later. Right now we have a kind of a temporary announcement for it. Unfortunately, they have not given us the actual date yet. So I'm here on Parcel Fair with our auction calendar. I'm looking at Tennessee for 2024. And you can see in February and in March, these are the auctions I just mentioned. And we've just stuck the Knox auction, which has not had an official release date yet. We put it on May 1st. So we'll see how close we were when they actually give us a date. You can actually view those parcels now, though. You don't have to wait. There's 398 on the current list they've advertised. But let's take a moment and see. Let's go to let's try Hardeman County, Tennessee, and see what we can find. This is always one of the prettier areas as far as just greenery, mountains, wildlife. Tennessee is gorgeous. I'm gonna draw my county borders on the map here so we can see where we are in the state. So give you context, this is north of Mississippi, this part of the state right here. The city looks like Bolivar, maybe a good place to look at. So we're just sort of eyeballing the properties here. You can see these are auction properties coming up, and there's another one right there. So if we take a deeper look into one of these properties, we've got this small building. It looks like it is a only valued at $24,000. About half of that's land, half of that's improvement. And it's in the upcoming Hardeman auction right here on the purchase option. You can click that, and it will take you through the steps on Govies to register for the sale, view the auction, and then see what's in the auction if you want to check out the list. But Govies is one of those online auctions where you can do your pre-bidding in advance and set that up. So while we are here, let's take a look at another Tennessee county since it's our featured one for the week. We're going to check out Washington County. Another beautiful area here. This is Johnson City. We should be in the far northeast corner of the state. I'm turning my county borders on this map as well. And let's go to map so you can see. If this is the state of Tennessee, we are pretty much in the top eastern corner. So Jonesboro is beautiful. Johnson City is beautiful. Let's put back to satellite so you can see you have this mountainous areas that are just not developed. They're just beautiful areas, especially if you can find some land. So that's maybe what you're looking for here. There's 33 acres right here. There are another 50 acres there. And if you wanted to apply a filter there, I clicked on the 150 parcel button here. This is the search filters. if I want to say I want at least, let's give myself at least 10 acres, I can do a filter on this auction and see it go from 150 properties down to just 12. And we were actually looking at some of them right here already. And since there's only 12 properties here, I'm going to, click on parcel results and go view these in a grid so I can just eyeball them really quickly and just see. I'm going to sort by total value. The most valuable one is $404,000. And you can see also the building column here. Some of these have, actually most of these have structures. Here's one that doesn't. And if we sort by acreage, let's see if we can find the biggest county, or I'm sorry, the biggest property is at 50 acres. And it has a $61,000 building on it. Let's click on that parcel and take a look at it. We actually have Street View, which is rare in some of these remote areas, but Google has taken a picture of the land. It looks kind of agricultural, maybe, area. And the same story here. If we want to register for this auction, we're going to look at the purchase option and click on that. Follow those steps on any property in Parcel Fair, and it will walk you through how to register for the auction. And if it's over the counter, we'll walk you through how to buy it over the counter. So let's do one more, and I want to walk you through, let's take one that has a larger building value. And let's just pick, we'll pick this one. Unfortunately, there's no Street View on that one, but that's okay. I'm just going to walk through the fields on the property report here. So from the top, we see, of course, Washington County, Tennessee, and the parcel number that was advertised at the top of the screen. The owner's name is even above that. Sorry if we're looking at the very top. Then as we move down, we see this in a tax deed auction for 2024. It is 19.7 acres. The sale year is 24, but in Tennessee, that means the delinquent year should have been 2021, as the advertisement told us. And when we're looking at the auctions, you'll see the CS number sometimes in Parcel Fair. That's supposed to be the certificate numbers. In some states, it's certificate of sale. It's just whatever that identifier is going to be that helps you out of the auction. And what I mean by that is an auction is going to give it another number besides the parcel number a lot of times. And so if there's a supplemental number or certificate number that we are tracking, we put it in this field so you can see the CS number here. It's helpful sometimes. And if you don't like it, just, if you don't need it, just don't use it. The amount due, we've put little helpers on the screen to help you out here, but in this case, it represents the amount that was due at the time of the original tax sale. And that's what this is. This is a tax sale. This is a tax auction. So this is the amount due or the opening bid. It typically is going to be the amount of taxes owed, but some auctions will set the opening bid a little bit higher than the taxes owed, and you'll see a different value here, if that's the case, than the taxes owed. The land value and the improvements really just break down to the parts of the total value. So if you add land value plus improvements, you get total value. And basically, if you had no structure on the property, then that's the land value is going to be what that land is worth by itself. The improvements are going to be any structure or improvement on the property. A little bit tricky here. Sometimes we call these structures, but frankly, you could buy a vacant lot with a fence on it, or a cell phone tower, a billboard, maybe a bridge over a little creek, like a little footbridge. And if the improvement is assessed by the county as part of the property value, they will put it in this field called improvements. They don't always do that. Sometimes they just overlook, if there's a blank foundation, they may not file it as an improvement. But if you see really small improvements, like in the hundreds of dollars especially, it's probably not going to be a house. It's probably something more trivial that is just attached to the property and has been assessed as an improvement. So typically a structure, but not guaranteed. In the center, we have the property address. And this is going to be, we start with the county records for these, and then we fill in missing blanks. A lot of times the county record will not tell us maybe the city, or they will do something, maybe leave the zip code off. And so we do a lot of filling in the blanks for you to come to this address. Next up, we have the occupied property address. You notice it was last checked on February 6th. This, if you click on it, you can read it is the U.S. Postal Service's is telling us that they consider this property occupied because somebody's checking the mail. By their best assessment, this property is occupied. If you tried to send mail to this address, Painter Creek Road, they're saying it should get there. And they're saying that someone should be checking it, rather, is what I meant to say. You will see vacant here if the U.S. Postal Service is telling us that nobody's checking the mail. Moving down, if you click View on Map, it's going to open the map screen over here and highlight the property. Adding the favorite, of course, just adds it to your favorites. And you can track those later. You can also remove a favorite just by clicking it over and over again. We already talked about purchase option in this video, but that's going to be where you find out how to buy. And then the last section I'll cover for this is the contact info and location. Why are these two separate? On the left-hand column, you see owner address. Well, you're not guaranteed that the owner lives in the house, so we're going to separate out where the owner address is and where they're receiving mail, like tax notices. And we're also going to verify that address using this. We've checked with the Postal Service, and this address verified means that the Postal Service gave us the thumbs up that this is a verified address. They even gave us an alternate one. All they did really, I think, is just add the 4 digits to the zip code. But we'll show you an alternate address in case that you want the official address from the Postal Service. On the right side, we've broken out the parcel address, which is the actual address of this property. In this case, we see that the owner is living in, the owner's address is the same as the property's address. I'm careful because it looks like with a trustee, it could be an estate or an heir situation. So I don't know that the owner lives there, but I do know that it's the same mailing address. So that it's not like the owner has a different house they live in. Other than that, you can add this property to a list. If you are if you like to track lists, you could do this and say Tennessee auction and hit save. You can add notes to it and say I like this property. And I didn't add it to my list. There we go. The price notices are for Alabama only, so you can't do anything here. But you can add other attachments like photos, documents, a deed, a picture of the house, whatever you want, and upload it to track it here and come back and find it later when you're in parcel fair. And that's just a nice way to help you organize. Lastly, if the auction history down here, you would see previous year's auctions. Sometimes that happens where a property is advertised for auction, then maybe it's pulled, and then it goes to another auction. In those cases, you would see it multiple times, multiple auctions down here. And I keep saying lastly, one last thing. The research links are here to help you do deeper research on these sites. The county and state links are going to take you to places that have information like this, where you could read more about the property. This tells you more about the building, a lot of details that might matter if you're thinking about buying it. A GIS map. And then owner research, if you want to look at an obituary for the owner and see if you can find out if they're alive. You can also do owner skip tracing with 3 free services: Fast People, True People, and Cyber Background. A lot of people use better services that are paid. That's fine. If you just want a free search to try to find the phone number quickly, you could use these 3, and you get a free search. And that's pretty much the theme over here. There's some comps and other things if you wanted to do further research. You could look at Realtor.com comps, Redfin, Trulia, Zillow. And so that's really to help you go beyond our website and research deeper into these properties. So that from top to bottom is everything that you see on this property report. There was no street view to show you, but we've seen that already. So this gray panel would have had a street view image if the Google car had driven to this property. Okay, so we've talked a lot about Tennessee. Why don't we move on? And I did fail to mention, they do have over-the-counter properties in the Shelby Land Bank in addition to auctions. The Shelby Land Bank is going to be Memphis, Tennessee, and we're not going to cover that in this video because we've spent a lot of time on Tennessee. Okay, let's talk about Maryland. We have the first auction of 2024. It's March 1st for St. Mary's County. And we'll show you that, but let's mention there are 3 OTC ways to buy in Baltimore City. A lot of properties there, about 3,000. And there are other counties with OTCs too, but the reason I brought this up was I wanted to show you the first auction. So here it is on the auction calendar. St. Mary's with 272 parcels. And here they are. So a lot of the Maryland auctions you're going to see are going to be waterfront like this. So it's kind of a nice area. It's either river or oceanfront. We can take a look and see that there are properties right here that are either one street off the water. This one's a land-only undeveloped lot. The Google car did not drive here either. I think it might be a gated neighborhood or something. But you have all the information here that we typically would see on researching a property, the zoning, all the way down to the tax lien that's available for $199. And then, of course, the purchase option for how to buy it at real auction, and the link to register, and the link to the list where it is. So you can click either of those and actually go take action on buying this property, or the lien on the property rather. So let's just zoom out and we'll scroll down here. We're talking the Potomac River here, which is going to feed into the Chesapeake Bay. So let's take a look at some of those that are close to the water here. Maybe we can get a Google Street View on this property. No, the Google car did not drive there either. I'm striking out with the street views today. Let's go further. Oh, we did that one. Let's try this neighborhood out and see if we can get something. Okay, Google does not like St. Mary's County. They are not driving the car through it. We're going to jump way over somewhere else and give it one last chance. And nothing. Okay, so lots of missing imagery on the waterfront properties. I presume it's because the roads are hard to get to, and Google didn't take the time out to get there, or they couldn't. But this is 14 acres coastal with a lien on it. Let's pick this one and take a closer look. So yeah, that's the basic gist of what's going on with this property here. It's a very high value, $270,000, and we can go take a closer look at the property card in St. Mary's County here, and that's going to give us deeper information about just researching this property. So Maryland can be a great tax lien investing state. There's going to be a lot of auctions this year. This is just the start. And of course, the over-the-counters in Baltimore City, a lot of people like shopping in those too. So it could be a very rewarding state to work through. Arizona, we've covered a lot this year. We covered it in the last two videos, plus we did a separate video just about our auction previews. And their season is very much in full swing. It's bid down interest, tax liens that start at 16% interest, and they are 3 years foreclosable. They do have over-the-counters. Right now, it's not really the best time of year for over-the-counters because a lot of these counties have closed the books until about April or whenever they're going to reopen after the auctions. So really right now they're focusing on the auction season, not the over-the-counters. And a last note, our Arizona scouting service that we have been pushing people on our site, or helping you out to sort of, if you need a scout and don't have one, those services are no longer available for this season. They are done for the year. So that button is now gone from the website. I didn't want you to be looking for the scout button to go dispatch a scout and wonder why it's gone. It is, we are finished for the year on the scouts over there. Let's take a peek at the auction calendar in Arizona. And here's what we have. 3 auctions complete and quite a few still upcoming, with thousands of properties in each. So what we're looking at all the way into, well, that's a deed auction March. So basically throughout February. Let's take a look. Why don't we grab the Greenlee auction? That's kind of a small county that I'm not very familiar with. Their mapping data was not the easiest to find, so we'll show it to you. A lot of these properties look, again, sort of in the agricultural category. Some of these have 200 or 78 acres. This one has 8 acres. But this is, let me show you where it's situated in the state. Let's turn on the county borders. So Greenlee is one county north of the Mexico border on the western side, very close to New Mexico. I don't recognize these city names. I apologize. I'm not that familiar with anything but the big cities in Arizona. But you can definitely sort of get the feel for the lay of the land just by clicking around. I mean, remote mountainous areas, 700 acres here. I can guarantee you the Google card did not drive there. See, it's definitely not there. It doesn't even have an address. It's an X bar X ranch. So that's sort of what you find, like these wilderness sort of areas, very remote. So let's take a look at just one in town before we move on. You can see these properties have rooftops on them, so there are that kind of traditional residential type property that you might be looking for. And let's just pick this one, and we do have a Google car did drive to this one. This is a vacant property. The improvements are very cheap, only $2,700. So I don't imagine there's a livable structure on that property. In fact, if we take a closer look on here, that's as close as the satellite is going to get us, but there's something on that property that I guess it's not a house, but it is an improvement. So if you want to know more about the auction, it's very unique. These are going to be the in-person auctions in some cases. I guess more than half of about 2/3 of the Arizona counties are online for auctions, but this is one of the in-person auctions where you actually have to go to this address, and the taxes due are $310. That would be the opening bid for the tax lien. And then, of course, links to how to register. Let's just go to one of these. This actually takes you to the county source to learn more about the auction. And whichever auction you choose in Arizona, you're going to have this similar experience here that walks you through how to register and find out more. So again, Arizona full swing. There's a lot going on here right now. Plenty of auctions to choose from, but it's going to be all over by the end of the month. So you only have a few more weeks left if you want to get involved on Arizona's auction season. Otherwise, you'll be buying over the counter pretty much for the rest of the year. Okay, Indiana had the spring auction season now available. I think we had 14 auctions last time I reported out. Now we have 18 of these commissioner sales that are available for you to research. The Lake County list has been available for weeks. I still have it highlighted because a lot of people want to know about it. It launched with 8,000 tax liens, and the auction starts on April 8th. It's a lot of time to research still, but it's a lot of properties too. We also have upcoming foreclosure auctions in Indiana, 38 scheduled in February. Let's take a peek at the Indiana auction calendar. I like to separate this out when I look at it, so I want to see just foreclosures first. And I see 38 of those in February across various counties. Some of them have finished already. Very small auctions, 1 property, 4 property, just 12 in this one. And then, of course, March, there's a whole new batch of auctions, 52 coming up in March. And we have these going out through May already. So foreclosure sales in Indiana, we have a nice runway for you to pick from. The tax sales are going to be more seasonal, and so we've already had a couple of those happen. And now you can see our next one coming up is going to be St. Joseph, and it's 347 parcels that are still left. Probably be smaller by the time the auction gets here as the redemptions happen. But some of these have a decent amount of properties. Some have 17. So depending on what you're looking at, one of the things about Parcel Fair that I like the most is that if I want to shop auctions like this, and there's a bunch of small auctions in the state, I can look at all counties like this in Indiana, all counties, and then I can say, just give me, I'll do the 2024 auctions. Yeah, that's fine. And so it's shown me that there's 10,221 parcels available, but now I can apply my strategic filters that I care about, like I just want improvements, and I just want minimum value of $30,000. And now I can really filter that down to 559 parcels. And I could even do some analysis here by viewing the results in a grid. Now I can look at valuations, sort by there's a $5 million property in the top now. So that's one way where you can look across all of these auctions, and instead of saying, you know, I have to look at these 23 and these 31 and these 21, you can just search across the whole state and then pick which auctions you want to shop in based on what's in the auction. So that's a huge advantage over people that have to go look at every auction one at a time. All right, so New Jersey, I'm just going to call it the winter auction season, even though their auction season never ends. We keep expecting it to end. We had one in January, and then a second one popped up, and then finally a third, and now we have two have popped up, just one in February to keep the streak alive, and then in March we have another one. I'm sorry, we have two in March, Elmer and Gloucester City. So when you look at that, it's kind of the season just stays alive year round. It seems like every month has a little bit at least. We do have a New Jersey auction video if you want to know how those work. In the meantime, let's take a look at just the calendar. And yeah, you see we're just sort of barely staying alive here. We had 3 in January, 1 in February, and then 2 more in March. And let's take a look at one of these newer ones that popped up, Gloucester City. This is on the New Jersey-Pennsylvania border, and there's quite a density of opportunity here. I mean, you look at how many liens are showing up in a small space. All these yellow blocks are properties that have tax liens going to auction unless they redeem before the auction. So let's take this one and take a peek. We have a nice Google Street View here to see what you would be buying a tax lien on. It's a $78,000 rental property, it looks like to me, just because it's joined to other houses. I guess that's why I think that. Worth $78,000, and the amount due is $524. That tax lien right here, certificate number and amount due. And if we want to go buy that, we're going to go click on the purchase option for upcoming auction, and we have the outline here for what to do to register for the sale and where to find it, the auction list. So that's, again, getting sort of repetition here. New Jersey auctions are going to look a lot like the auctions elsewhere in Parcel Fair. You're just going to follow the steps to understand the property value and situation, and then click on the purchase option to go get to the auction. So yeah, we'll skip ahead. Again, there's another video on New Jersey if you want to know how those auctions work. It's going to go into more detail than this news video. All right, we're starting to get into the counties that have fewer auctions. We did track 87 in North Carolina in January. We want you to check out our Intro to North Carolina Tax Deed Auctions if you plan on bidding there, because it's not the most straightforward place. You have 3 types of auction properties that we show you in Parcel Fair. I get questions about this a lot. People say, why didn't the property have an opening bid, or why didn't the property have a scheduled date? Well, that's because you're looking at one that says pending auction at the very top of the screen. That means it's not scheduled yet. If they don't know when the auction is going to happen, then I can almost guarantee you they're not going to tell you the opening bid either, because there's going to be more taxes accrued by the time the auction occurs, and they don't know when that auction is. So they can't calculate the opening bid yet. We also have scheduled auctions, which you're going to know a lot more about, like a date and a price for the opening bid. And then you have upset bids. Again, this other North Carolina video goes into a lot of detail about how to handle these 3 situations. But upset bids, basically, these properties can drag out over weeks if you were to find a property that already sold and you were to place an upset bid on that property. And yes, we are tracking these auctions, new added each week. And this will be a pretty short look at, there's some of the completed auctions, here's some of the pending auctions, and it's actually starting to thin out a little bit from what we had. There were a lot more back in December and January. But we'll take a look at Mecklenburg, the 8 parcels available in this auction, and the first property we found, it's some kind of triangle-shaped property. It looks like it may be in a ditch. So, but yeah, the same information you're going to see in other places, like the auction instructions, and of course, if you wanted to go take a closer look at the property, you can go to the GIS map. So, that's kind of North Carolina. I don't want to go too deep into this because the auction video really covers. It's a rabbit hole we could go down. I don't want to try to cram it into this one video. So if you want to get started in North Carolina, I recommend watching our Intro to North Carolina Tax Deed Auctions video. Florida, there seems to be always something to report, even when we're out of season. The tax lien auctions are on the way. We're not in season for that yet. We do have some dates, but no lists. And tax deed auctions, though, they are year-round. So 46 of those are scheduled for February, then 47 more auctions in March that we're tracking. The Florida foreclosures, many more of those, 301 scheduled for February, 245 scheduled for March. Remember, this is the number of auctions, and these auctions have often more than one property, so there's a lot more properties than just auctions here that are available to research. And then lastly, we do have over-the-counter all year round for tax liens and tax deeds. But let's take a peek at the Florida auction calendar. And we're looking at 2024. Let's separate the tax deed auctions out because there's so many foreclosure auctions. We just want to see tax deed. You see 46 in February, 47 in March, and then we're already out into May with in April. So this is how you would take a look at those auctions if you wanted to see Orange County, the properties map for this auction, and then just kind of go through on the right-hand side here. Let's take a look. Let's try this one out. So I'm looking at this on the map. It looks like it's going to be a unit in that building. You're not buying a deed on the whole building typically here. So the auction advertisement is here. Here's how you register for the sale and view the list on the auction list. And so there's a lot to look at there. You can tell the Unit 609 is what's for sale by the parcel address. You can tell that the owner, DCM Property Holdings, this case, is actually in a different city. And this unit has 22,035 square feet and a valuation of $485,000. So just the kind of things that stick out to me when I look at this. Again, tax deed coming up for Unit 609 of this building. But yeah, lots to look at in Florida. There's always something going on, even if it between over-the-counters or just the year-round auctions that you can be looking at. And yeah, this is an interesting looking property. We'll go to the panorama view and zoom in. The more you use Parcel Fair, the more you'll see that tax deed properties and tax lien properties, they can be sort of grown over. And this one actually doesn't look that terrible compared to some of the ones I've seen. But that's so much we could show you in Florida. That's just going to be a good primer for you to get started. But yes, the auction calendar has a lot for you going on in March. And even in February, if you want to check out what's remaining coming up in the next few weeks. Okay, let's take a peek at Colorado, and we have the fall auction season, of course, ended a few months ago. We do have OTCs that are constantly added, and we track foreclosures in the off-season for Colorado. 17 foreclosure auctions in February, 14 more in March. This is how you would check on Colorado's auctions. So these are the foreclosures coming up, and these are the sales that you can choose from. And if you want to see over-the-counter properties in Colorado, you can choose a county, but I'm just going to look at everything and say over-the-counter inventory right here. This is going to eliminate all the foreclosure auctions and show me just those over-the-counter tax liens. There are 1,300 in the state right now that we're tracking. And so here's an example, just some scrap land it looks like behind these buildings. And if you wanted to know how to buy it, you would follow the instructions on the Apply Online button here that show you exactly how to purchase over the counter. And we do have an off-season investing video on Colorado if you want to know more about foreclosures and over the counters. Okay, Alabama, we do have a preview season going. That means that the auctions haven't started, and frankly, the lists aren't even technically released yet. But We do have some preliminary delinquency lists that we've posted on the site. So you get a head start. You can also buy over the counter through state inventories, county liens, land banks, and even resellers. And just a reminder on how this season works. We are here. We're at the beginning of the lists available part. I guess maybe that red dot should slide a little bit because we're in February, but we're basically in the infancy of the year for tax auctions in Alabama. So not much to show you right now other than the preview auctions, and we've already covered those. So if you want to check those out, feel free to check that out on Parcel Fair. Mississippi's deep into their over-the-counter season. They did end their season in August, but they have spring auctions in April, so we'll see those before too long. So you're going to be shopping over the counter this time of year. There are 7,521 over-the-counter properties currently available. We only added 34 in January and really just 8 more new ones in February. So it's kind of a quiet time of year, but it's still plenty to look at and buy from. Arkansas, the auction season is on the way. We are still waiting for the schedule to be announced. This is the website, and they just have dates, but no lists yet. So there's not much to show you until the lists show up. But we are tracking their over-the-counter deeds. There were 18 new ones added so far in February, 56 new ones added in January. 1,600 came in the last quarter of 2023, so that was when the real influx happened. And you can buy those year-round through the Commissioner of State Lands. And, of course, those are on our website for searching, and we will walk you through the steps on each property if you click on the purchase option to buy. South Carolina, so we're hitting the cold markets now, I guess you'd say. We did track the auction season, more over-the-counter properties coming, but right now there's not much to do for South Carolina. Same with New Mexico. We have nothing scheduled right now. No active auctions scheduled. And then lastly, Oklahoma and Utah, we know their seasons will be coming up around May and June. There are some over-the-counters in a few counties, so you can shop on those in the meantime, but right now it's fairly cold. More counties will be on the way, and we do have Utah suggestions. Thank you for those. And that was it for the week. I hope you have a great week, and I hope this video was helpful. Send us your questions, comments, and let's start up a dialogue. And we're always happy to chat about your experiences and tell you what we know. And this has been a pleasure making this video, and have a great week.